Hi guys, and welcome to the 35th episode of Dreamers and Doers, where I interview people who follow their passion and use it to make a positive impact in the world. And I think that's you, Zina. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Alex. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you, thank you. And it's quite an exciting one for me actually, because I don't know much about Tantra, and I've been through a personal growth journey, but I know that sexuality is probably one of the things where I still feel I'm quite uncomfortable. So I'm definitely out of my comfort zone doing this interview. I think you are a little bit too.
I am a little bit too. Not talking about Tantra and sex. I love that. Yeah? That's my favorite thing to talk about. But being on camera is a little bit different for me.
Okay. Yeah. So that's very interesting. So we're a bit uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I mean, for out of our comfort zone, let's say. For different reasons.
Absolutely.
Cool. Can I let you do a quick intro? About what you're doing. We'll go deeper into your journey after.
Yeah.
But just who you are for the people who listen.
Yeah. So hi guys. I don't know if anyone's watching. I'm a yoga teacher. Mm-hmm. So I teach at Dharmashala in Bondi, and I'm a Tantra practitioner. And I lead women's circles and workshops for women. And I'm really passionate about everything that relates to being a woman and to sexual empowerment. Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks. And actually, so we met at a retreat with Marja that I interviewed in another podcast about breathwork.
Yeah.
And it was so cool because the whole retreat. So Marja's amazing, and you guys are very good friends. And I met you there, and you were part of these amazing vibes. So
it was such a good retreat.
It was such a good retreat. Yeah, definitely. Let's jump into it. I don't really know what Tantra is, because for some people, I feel like the usual perception is that it's very towards sexuality, but I think it's quite wide. It's also a spiritual practice, right?
Yeah.
So what's Tantra?
Okay, so you're right. There absolutely is a sexual element, but it does go a lot deeper than that, and it's a lot broader than that. So Tantra is an ancient spiritual tradition. So it comes from India. It's got the same purpose as other spiritual traditions, which is spiritual awakening. I'm sure you're familiar with that. But if maybe people who are watching are not so familiar, spiritual awakening means a realization of your true nature. So who you are at your deepest, purest essence. So underneath all the layers of social and cultural conditioning. Who you really truly are deep down. So that's a spiritual awakening. So in that sense, Tantra has the same purpose as other traditions. What really makes Tantra different is that it embraces all of life and all of the human experience. So there's no concept of sin in Tantra, like there is in a lot of religions and even spiritual traditions as well. So Tantra is the path of love. So it embraces the love of life, the love of self, the love of others, and also physical love. Yeah.
Well, it's like from a perspective, you'd be like, and we'll talk a bit after why sexuality is taboo, but it's true that you could see it as any other kind of relationship. And is it how you see it? Like it's part of just enjoying life and how you communicate with others and this connection.
Absolutely.
There's no reason for it to be that.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So spirituality in Tantra is not disconnected from your life and from your experience of being human and your experience of your body. So there's no part of you that's rejected as sinful or that's denied or repressed. Everything is embraced, including sexuality.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So what that means in practical terms is that everything that you go through in life, so every person that you encounter, every challenge that you face is embraced as an opportunity for spiritual growth, so for expansion. And actually Tantra tan means expansion and tra means liberation. So together, it's the path of expanding into liberation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And using, like, is sensuality and sexuality core in that path to liberation?
So I think that originally it was probably different. So 5,000 years ago, it might have not been.
Yeah.
But the way that Tantra has evolved, and particularly with Neo-Tantra now, that's really evolved and taken off in the West, yes, sexuality is at its core. Yep.
So it would be in the practice, it's just part of it, but maybe because usually it's not part of it, it became something more essential in the West. Do you feel it's
I don't know. I think it just really worked for us Westerners who have been so repressed for such a long time. You know, finding a spiritual path that actually tells you that sex is really good for you, and that helps you, have better sex. I think we embrace that. Yeah.
and so how does sexuality help your journey with Tantra? Like, what is the foundation? Is it through the connection with others? Is it more through self-love?
So both. So Tantra is about expansion, right? So expanding into liberation. And it so happens that cultivating and learning to harness sexual energy is one of the most potent tools that we have for expansion.
Actually, there are some... have you read Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill?
No, I haven't.
It's kind of a classic in personal growth, but at the end of the book, it's not at all about sexuality, but at the end of the book, it talks a lot about how your most powerful energy is your sexual energy. And
for sure. For sure.
And I guess in psychology in general, it's like pretty recurring. So,
absolutely. So what we usually do, like in our culture with sexual energy, and by the way, by sexual energy, I mean like the energy of being turned on, so of desire and pleasure. What we usually do with that energy is we kind of contract around it, and we push it down, and we try to push it out through an orgasm as quickly as possible. So in Tantra, instead of doing that, instead of pushing it down and out, we actually breathe and relax into the energy, and we allow it to expand, so to move up the body and to expand through the body. And that leads us into orgasmic states, which are incredibly expansive states where we're completely blissful and completely relaxed at the same time.
And delaying the orgasm as we usually
so either delaying or avoiding altogether. It's a bit different for men and women.
And I guess through the practice you have like kind of a stronger orgasm without the orgasm.
So you get into orgasmic states, also called energy orgasm, which is, it's completely different. So it's not an experience where you have a 3-second peak and then you drop down and it's over. An orgasmic state is completely relaxed, so there's no contraction around the experience, and it can just go on and on and on. And
how long?
Longest I've gone is about an hour. But because it's relaxed, you can choose where to go with it. So you can choose to actually take it to a peak and explode, or you can just choose to keep relaxing and keep moving it through your body, or you can. It's a little bit hard sometimes, but you can choose to stop it as well and just be like, okay, I need to go and do the shopping.
It's time now. Okay, and do you does it also involve because I remember I met girls who were a bit into Tantra in Paris, but I didn't learn that much from them, but they told me about some things that were not that sexual but more on the connection, like gazing or breathing together, or this. Would that be part of the practice?
It's all of it. It's all of it. It's both deeply sexual and both deeply intimate. It embraces all of that. But when you learn Tantra, there's a little bit of reprogramming that needs to happen. around sexuality, because we're used to engaging in sex in a certain way.
Yeah.
And so when we start, it's really important to actually go through those connection practices and really work on coming into presence in our experience of sexuality.
Yeah, as a man, I can see how sex can have become quite consumerist way.
Yeah.
Especially when you're a young man, it's a lot about just I had sex. It's like it's not about the practice. It's just about telling the lads the next day.
Yeah.
And it's so I think that's really important to get more that connection. That's something I've been I've been working on, and that makes it more beautiful actually. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
Can we talk a bit about your journey? How you got into it?
Yeah. So I've been studying yoga and meditation and pranayama quite intensively since about 2011, 2012.
Okay.
And in those early days, the teachers that I was most drawn to had a bit of a tantric flair to them, not so much in the sexual way, but more in the embracing all experiences as opportunities to expand and grow. And that perspective, I've always really loved that. That's always been something that's really worked for me. So embracing challenges as opportunities for growth. And then 3 years ago, I had a particular challenge that that was a great opportunity, and that really launched me onto the path of Tantra. And that challenge was going through a very, very difficult time in relationship. And I really managed to, because of the trust that I had in the opportunity that this challenge was, I managed to really open to how much emotional pain I was in at that point. And in one particular experience, when I really, really opened to how much pain I was in, I really put it out there that I was open to feeling everything that needed to come through me. Instead of going into a state of agony, which is what I expected, I went into my first energy orgasm quite spontaneously in meditation.
Wow.
And that was simply by really truly opening.
Is that available to men?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah, it's available to everyone. Yeah.
Okay, good.
And yeah, so pain can be quite a blessing.
Mm.
And then once I'd experienced that, I once I knew that I could feel that way, I knew that every other woman in particular, I didn't really know too much about the men's side at that point, but I knew that every woman was capable of experiencing that as well. And so I just launched myself into a mission to discover how I could teach this to women without telling them to really go through a lot of pain.
Yeah.
And there are, luckily, there are a lot of other ways that you can access those states.
You talked about feeling.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I probably know
Yeah.
the answer to this, but do you think we don't allow ourselves to feel enough in our society?
Yes.
No way.
Yes. Kind of hit the nail on the head there. Yeah. So, essentially the core of my message across all that I teach across yoga and Tantra and the women's circles, the core is just feel.
Yeah.
Feel. And that comes directly from that experience. Yeah.
Back to the more sexual part. That's why people are listening.
Hey guys.
Why do you think? So basically, we've probably. I don't know if you'd agree with that statement. Do you think we're making progress in how, this, like, sex is more, let's say, liberal in our societies? Would you agree with that?
Yes, I do choose to think that we're making progress. Yeah. definitely. Having said that, I
This interview would probably be very weird like 50 years ago.
Exactly. Yeah. The fact that this is okay to broadcast all over
Yeah.
social media
Yeah.
is a pretty good sign,
Yeah.
I would say. So yeah, I think we're making progress, but there's plenty of room for more progress, I
Yeah.
would say.
Mm.
Yeah. Especially in terms of how we're educated around sex. Yeah. So we're still really educated that, touching our bodies is bad and disgusting, and that actually our bodies should be hidden really early on. We put clothes on children when really who cares? And then as teenagers, when we're pumping full of sex hormones, we're just dumped a whole lot of fear onto us, like all of this. If you have sex, you're going to get STDs and you're going to get, an unwanted pregnancy and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And we're not educated, we get no useful education about actually how our bodies work and how men and women work differently.
It's like, here are the problems you may have.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
that's it.
Yeah, there's nothing about how beautiful sex can be or the potential of sex. Or the art of lovemaking. There's none of that.
Who do you think should educate us about this? Parents?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Because I was like, would it be at school? Would it be parents?
I'm kind of grappling with that one myself as a mother of a young child. I think it could be incorporated into education in skillful ways.
Yeah.
Maybe not by like primary teachers, but maybe specific trained educators that would come into schools and actually talk kids through, and then also be available for like private sessions, like one-on-one, where actually teenagers can ask all their questions. Yeah.
Do you feel the taboos are a bit different between men and women? I would feel like but I wouldn't be sure, but like for women might be sexuality overall that might be more taboo. Just the fact of being liberated about sex. I feel there's still this judgmental attitude that you may have, and that for men the vulnerable thing wouldn't be to have sex. That's fine, but it'd be more to I don't know, to have it in a more loving way almost.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
that's actually what I was thinking. That was my first sort of response was, well, for women there's this sort of assumption that all that we want is love and marriage and babies. Like actually really stepping up as really sexual beings. I think that's still a taboo. Like as a woman saying, I love it and I need it as much as every other guy. There's definitely taboo around that. Whereas no man there's no issue with men saying that. But then men saying, I really, really want deep intimacy and I want to be able to feel vulnerable with a partner, and things like that. I think that there's men would probably think that maybe they would be judged as not being man enough and things like that. So I definitely think that the taboos are different. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, going personal here, but like I could
this was always going to go personal.
I could feel it a bit like being like, I would feel it's more like a quantity thing, or like I would feel if I wouldn't have sex for months, for example, I would feel like I'm not good enough as a man, you know. And it's not really about like it's not really about having a beautiful relationship with the person. It's more about
score.
Exactly. It's more about the competition with the friends and stuff. And I know a lot of people who are still a lot in that mode, and there are a lot of men who are in that mode, and for whom it's more important to
absolutely
to do that. And I find that there's a bit of work to do on yourself. I think it comes a lot to self-love and to accepting it's like almost a bit liberating too, to think I don't need to prove anything,
exactly.
Because I think there was a bit of this.
self-love, and also dropping a lot of those beliefs that we have about what men want and what women want, like dropping the beliefs that women don't want sex or don't like sex, and that they're just doing it to kind of get the man, stuff like that,
and then they can have the baby.
and then they don't want sex ever again. Okay.
And how did you come to, because as we said, it's quite taboo also for you as a woman still to talk about it so openly like this.
Definitely.
Is a bit it's quite, like, it's really brave, I'd say. It's really courageous to do.
I think you're really brave to do this too.
Yeah, I think so too.
We're both brave.
Yeah, good pat on the back.
Yeah.
And what gives you the strength to do that?
Oh, it's you know what? These days, it's not even about strength. It's just about getting myself out of the way, and getting any fears or doubt out of the way and ignoring them, and just allowing this process to happen. Like it appears right now that this is what I'm here to be doing. I really believe that we're all here for a reason. That we have a purpose and a mission, and that purpose and mission changes during our lives. And right now, this appears to be mine.
Yeah.
So I'm not. It's not a pushing. It's more of an allowing. Yeah.
And I think doing this, you probably give confidence to some women that might listen to it.
I really hope so. And that's I have that hope in my women's circles as well that I have in Bondi every month. I really, really hope that by normalizing talking about how sensual and sexual we are, that other women start to feel empowered and confident in that too.
What's the main thing you identified as like an issue or a concern for women around sexuality?
Oh wow, big questions. Okay, what's really coming through now, I would say, is lack of self-love. Yeah. Being overly critical of ourselves and starting, really simple, just starting with our bodies. Like, I've never met a woman who's completely comfortable with her body and who's just like, my butt's the size that it is and I love it, and my boobs are the size that they are, and my skin looks this way and it's great. I love it all. So just starting with that, and then let alone what goes on inside. Like, we're constantly criticizing ourselves and telling ourselves that we're not enough in this way and that way, and around sex as well, like, and especially not orgasmic enough, that we don't get turned on quick enough, we don't get wet quick enough, or whatever it is. There's so many things to criticize. So I'd say it's a lack of self-love.
Self-love, that's a recurring thing that I hear, and especially for women. I think it's definitely quite for men too. Maybe in a different way. I think for women would be something maybe that where you hide it and you're a bit ashamed of it. I feel for men sometimes the escape is like in achieving, in doing things, and as I talked about, like getting chicks just to prove your worth or things like this. I think in the end it was a question of self-love too, like you're enough.
But even for men, like just owning, like really owning, but not from a place of like guilt or like that there's something wrong with you, like for wanting, maybe you want to sleep with a different woman every night for the next 6 months, and that would be okay to own. Like whatever your desires are, you can own them. I
like that part, because you have sometimes that conception like you're taking something from someone,
that you're being
a
bit
you have
bad
to be
by
sneaky,
doing
or
that it's a bit naughty.
Mm.
And really, like there's a way of doing that with integrity. It's
that's a good the self-love is really interesting. and oh yeah, well that's the maybe that's fine. Yeah, and I feel for men, because there are men's circle now. That's fine.
Look at that later. Yeah.
And and this men's circle, often vulnerability I find is a big one. Like there are quite a few podcasts and interviews around how I don't know, men feel way better when they start being vulnerable and opening themselves more. So I don't know, but I feel I've kind of felt the pattern in this area was a lot self-love for women, for men too, but for men also quite a lot of vulnerability, talking about for a man it can be really hard to talk about. If you don't think you perform sexually, you're never gonna tell it to your friends, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You gotta repress that. Is that something you find a lot also?
Yes, definitely.
Definitely.
And I think that men are discovering more and more that it feels so good to be vulnerable, to actually share who you are and who your desires are and what your insecurities are, and having those heard, and having someone just go, that's all right, like me too. It's so healing. That's what we do in women's circles, and I'm sure there's some of that in men's circles too. Never been in one, but I'm sure they do that too.
Me neither, actually. I heard a bit about some. And Joao had a question. Thank you, Joao. How can we change this cultural aspect where men believe is made believe that to be vulnerable and wanting intimacy is accepted? So how can we shift from and make it normal that men be vulnerable and want intimacy? Like pragmatically, would you have?
Yeah.
We rely on you to have the answer.
Yeah. Thanks, Joel. I'm going to change the system right now. No, it's a great question. I think it comes down to a combination of education and how we're educating our children, our sons and our daughters, and also to our own journey of self-healing, and actually embracing those parts of ourselves that want to be vulnerable and that want intimacy. Doing your own healing journey. Every person that engages in that journey, then that creates ripples through society.
And so how do you engage in that healing journey?
In practical ways?
Yeah.
Are we going to that is that the same question as what you wanted to ask at the end?
What did I want to ask?
So how to start to become more comfortable with your sexuality in that regards?
definitely like practical tips, exactly. So
practical tips
was question 4.
It was question 4. So there's a lot. Tantra can do a lot of things. So I'll give you 2 tips. So one on how to engage with a partner, and then one on how to engage with yourself. So in terms of engaging with a partner, it's incredibly healing to drop any concerns about performance. Or
big one for men, I guess.
Performance, technique, pleasing your partner, whether your partner has an orgasm or not. Drop all of that. All of that. All expectations, all goals.
That's such a big one for
men. It's massive, right?
When you're a man and you're having sex, like my performance, does she like? That's where you get your manliness.
And I understand that it would feel that way.
But then it makes you really in your head and yourself.
Exactly. And it takes you out of being fully present with your partner, which is actually what women crave the most. Men as well, of course, but it's even more so for women. Like as women, we really crave that men engage with us with full presence, with full awareness of what they're feeling in their body, just in the moment, and full presence to us. So receptivity to how we're feeling. but without bringing in a whole lot of baggage of,
Yeah.
you know, I'm going to rub you 3 times this way and then up and down for 5 seconds and then, you know, just do it that way.
Well,
Drop all of that.
a big one for men, if you kind of let go though, is to be big fear is to be very quick.
Is
Is to be too quick.
to finish too
Yeah,
quickly.
yeah.
Yeah, so even drop that.
Yeah,
Even
yeah.
drop that because it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Actually.
you definitely
Yeah.
you'd probably have a better time with someone who accepts that, and then
Well, that's, you know, and if you do finish too quick, it's
Yeah.
something that you can, you know, you can work on. Like,
Mm.
you don't have to be perfect
Yeah,
right away.
yeah.
Like, drop that as well, thinking that
Yeah.
you need to be the perfect lover. There's no such thing.
Mm,
So you can really engage in deep intimacy when you bring your full presence into engaging with your partner.
mm,
So by bringing your full presence, your lovemaking becomes a meditation. It's not
Yeah.
something where you're going through the motions, you
Yeah.
know, doing what you've done 1,000 times
Yeah.
before, or, you know, trying to think of something that's, you know, not arousing so that you you calm yourself down. You know?
good old technique.
Yeah.
Thinking you're going for a ride or
Yeah, exactly.
so
yeah.
something as boring as you can.
Yeah, so that you last longer.
Mm.
Yeah, just dropping all of that and
Mm.
simply coming into presence. So
Mm.
that is definitely my number one tip.
Yeah,
And that, for most people, that'll mean really slowing down
yeah,
and actually feeling what's going on in the moment. And it's great if you can talk about that with your
Yeah.
partner before, so that they're on board and, you know, they don't think that you're weird.
yeah. Let's talk about communication then during sex, because
Yeah.
sometimes, often I think people don't communicate much.
Yeah.
Or maybe because they feel it can be a bit, you know, I don't know, a bit uncomfortable again.
Yeah.
How would you, let's say, if you've been a couple for long or you're not used to it,
Yeah.
and you kind of want to introduce communication, but you're a bit fearful that it might be
Yeah.
you're not used to it. How would you start?
I think that I would start with what it is in me that's wanting to be felt or
Mhm.
be expressed. So I would say, maybe, you know, I'm really craving to experience a deeper level of intimacy with
Mm.
you. Would you
Yeah.
you be willing to, you know,
Yeah.
try this thing I saw on YouTube?
Oh yeah. I'd probably be like, yeah.
Yeah, like just opening
I
it
didn't,
up.
and usually
Yeah.
that's the thing with vulnerability, right? Usually when there's like two people, you feel like, oh no, and the first one who does it, it just feels so liberating for both.
Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
good. Yeah, and I don't know a single woman who'd be like,
Yeah.
no, I don't want more
Yeah.
intimacy with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so that
Mm.
would be a beautiful thing to start communicating about. And then communicating during sex or during, you know, engaging intimately is beautiful
Mm.
as well. And it doesn't have to be all, you know, serious.
Yeah.
You know, it really, really doesn't need to look like in the movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, it's fine to try something and
Yeah.
for it to go weird, or to try something and for it to be amazing.
Yeah.
And you know, it's fine for your lovemaking to look like something that you're like,
Mm.
whoa, like, what was that? I've never seen
Mm.
that in porn or in a regular
Mm.
movie before.
Yeah. What
You
do
know?
do you think, by the way, that porn is fucking up a bit our relationship with sex?
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, I mean, our primary sex education is
Yeah.
through porn now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually recommend, like, that's something I've actually done.
Yeah.
I quit porn completely,
That's
like
amazing.
2 years ago.
That's amazing. That is such a good start.
And yeah, I think
Yeah.
there are like so many men, especially
Yeah.
probably I don't really know about women that. For men,
Women
for a group
less.
of friends, wouldn't be very taboo. Like, would be like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, we got. you
Yeah.
know. Would
Yeah.
it be something also probably less for women, but
I think a lot less.
yeah.
Yeah. I definitely know
Mm.
that women watch porn as well, but I'm
Yeah.
sure they watch it a lot
Yeah.
less than men.
It's not as addictive as for men.
Yeah. Well, porn tends to be made for men. It's not really
Yeah,
like
yeah.
woman porn would look
Mm.
pretty different.
Okay.
Yeah.
What would it look like?
I actually did a course a few years ago that had some stuff that I would definitely qualify as woman porn.
Okay.
Yeah, or tantric porn.
Okay.
Well, it included everything else. It included like the date, and then like having a shower together, and like shots of the water running down her back.
Yeah, in the main version, that'd be the date, but it'd be the first 5 seconds. Oh yeah, okay, done.
No, there was the whole build up, and a really long time of I don't even like the word foreplay, because like you say foreplay and immediately certain things like kind of pop up into your head. You're like, oh well, yeah, so that and that and that, like forget that.
Okay.
Like just an exploration of each other's bodies and energies before engaging in any penetration. And that was like it was like a 2-hour video or something, and penetration was like the last minute.
Yeah. Very different indeed.
Very different. Yeah. Yeah, and it was like, and that is another episode.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. And so we drifted a bit, but to go back to the practical tips, we had
so we had presence.
So we had delay presence and
and coming into presence and dropping all the concerns for techniques, performance, expectations, goals, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So the second greatest tip, and this relates to self-love, is to develop a self-pleasure practice. And this is just as valid for men as for women. So self-pleasure is it's the word that we use in Tantra for masturbation, but it's actually quite different from masturbation. So it's not focused on the goal, on orgasm.
Yeah.
It's actually a practice, like to really reconnect with yourself. So developing a self-pleasure practice means that you really get to know yourself, to know your body, to know your turn-ons.
Yeah.
And it's an exploration of your own sexual energy on your own, without somebody else. And in that, I definitely recommend dropping the goal of orgasm as well. And actually even setting a timer. This is something I've done a bit as well.
Yeah.
Setting a timer for like an hour more if you've got time, and just going, I am going to self-pleasure for this long, and I'm not going to have an orgasm until the timer goes off. Then I'm free to do whatever I want.
Then you
but you actually explore yourself without having,
so you lose
having
that
an
goal.
explosion. For a whole hour. And that includes your entire body. It might include some dancing or some massaging yourself. So it's a lot more of a whole-bodied sensual experience rather than something that's very localized and quick and goal-oriented. Greatest tip.
Well, I'll definitely try that.
Practice.
Guys, I hope you're gonna try this technique too. Can be the next our next unlocked event.
I don't know about that.
Here in Bondi Beach.
Let's talk about that. Yeah. Some people do that. Yeah, and I have been to a few things like that. Yeah. It can work when it's done in a really safe and tasteful way. It can work.
I guess for these things you want a safe space, like a trusting environment when you feel you can be.
Who knows? Give me a couple of years. Give me a couple of years. I might get there.
Actually, I was when I was in Paris, I went to a festival. There were like a lot of very open-minded activities. One of them is you go in a kind of a tent, and it was 12 guys, 12 girls, and everyone's naked with almond oil.
Oh yeah.
And kind of sleeping on each other like this, but really like kids. And the point of this practice was so it was quite fun, but it was very mind-boggling at least for me, for my brain, because I didn't know if it was and I was there with two beautiful chicks, and I didn't know if it was like a game childlike or if it was a bit sensual too, but then you'd arrive on on a man. Then you're like, it was quite it was interesting because it was mixing things that could be very sexual, things that could
Yeah.
be very taboo, especially for men, which would be homosexuality, and sexuality that taboo, and just playing, you know,
Yeah.
like because at the beginning was a bit like you're a bit like, and then by the end you're just like you're a kid in a
Yeah.
pool. Or something.
Yeah,
Just
yeah. I
fun.
think those types of events are great if you,
Yeah.
as long as there are really strong and clear boundaries in
Yeah.
place, so that you really know what's
and
okay
actually
and what's
the
not
guys
okay.
who organized, they were
Yeah.
putting a really really safe
Yeah.
space. I think
Yeah.
especially for women, I feel it can be
Yeah.
it can
Yeah,
feel
and
a
then
bit-
within those boundaries,
Yeah.
then whatever
Yeah,
it is for
yeah,
you is fine.
yeah,
If it becomes really sensual, then that's great, and if it's
Yeah.
more play, then
yeah,
that's
it's
cool
called
too.
it's called Liquid Love. I don't maybe they are.
okay. I'll check it out.
I think the some of
Next
chicks
time
I did
I'm
it
in
with
Paris.
were watching this. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, hi girls.
I was thinking. I was thinking of exporting it to Australia, maybe.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we could do a
Love.
collaboration with
Yeah, yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, there are a few of them. Yeah, guys. So if you have questions, we are going to finish now. So ask them quickly.
Yeah.
And just before we finish, how can we follow you? And what's up next for you?
Yeah. So you can follow me on Instagram. So I've got two Instagram accounts actually.
Yeah.
I've got my personal one with it, which is Zina Shakti Bliss
Mhm.
_ and then I've got a new one as well that I just
Mhm.
opened like 2 weeks ago, which is not as personal. It's actually really about celebrating sensuality, and that's called
Mhm.
Yoga and Orgasms with _
Okay.
as well.
Yeah, I'll write that down too.
Yeah. What's next for me is so women's circles. I've got a monthly women's circle in Bondi. The next one is on March 16th, and it's on opening the heart. I love my women's circles so much. It's really it's really my favorite thing to do at the moment. So we do sharings where we practice
Mhm.
being really vulnerable and hearing each other. We do some sort of movement practice,
Okay.
usually related to dance, but not always.
Okay.
Then we'll do a workshop. So every month there's a different theme.
Mm-hmm.
So we just did intuition last Saturday,
Okay.
and next in March it'll be on opening the heart, and the workshop will be a kirtan with my friend Beck.
Mhm.
That'll be really fun. And then we finish always with an element of massage or touch, so conscious touch,
Yeah.
where we give each other love, and that's just so
Mm.
deeply nurturing. It's so good. Yeah, so that's what's next, and then I'll have a combined men and women's circle coming up with Damien Bowler, who might be watching. I'm not sure. Hi, if you're watching. And
Might listen after.
yeah, that'll be in April.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. And Marja has a question actually.
Yay!
When is your next workshop, Zina?
March 16th,
March 16th.
Marja. March 16th at Dharmashala. And you can check out the details and book on my website, so zinarose.com.au.
Is there anything you think you'd like to add, or that you want to cover on top? Like, do you think that you want to add?
Can't think of anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have like a message like this that you'd like people
Feel.
to yes, yeah, I
Yay.
love it. There's like, I don't know if you know Tim Ferriss. He's like a
Yes.
pretty famous podcast
Yeah.
host guy, and he has this question: if you could write something on a giant billboard, what would you write? So
Yeah,
you'd say like feel.
It would be feel.
Feel. That
Yeah.
makes me think of the Wim Hof answer. So Wim Hof, that guy who
Yeah,
does
yeah,
breath
yeah.
work, was breathe, motherfucker.
Yeah.
So that makes me think
Yeah,
of
it would
this.
be
Very,
feel, motherfucker.
yeah, feel, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Love it. And we always finish these interviews with a big warm hug. Mm. That feels very good too.
Yeah. Thanks so
Hugs.
much for having me, Alex.
Thank you so
Really
much
fun.
again
Really fun
for
talking
being
to you.
brave and courageous and doing
You
this.
too.
And I think helping people out with this. Last question, Joe.
Oh.
How can we change this cultural? No, that's
that was the
old
one before,
That's
yeah.
the same one. Actually, Joe, we answered this in the middle when the live cut. Thank you guys for following. Thank you so much, Zina, again.
Thank you, Alex.
And yeah, if you have more questions, you can still send them and we'll answer later.
Yes. Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye.